Why, hello! How the devil are we? Good. I am out in the Dorsetshire countryside. I think I know where I'm going. And if I don't, I've always got Mrs. Nagalot with me, haven't I? But I'll tell you what, if I look up, can you see that? And if I do this, can you see that down there? That's a shadow. And that's cast by the sun. Amazing. Right, I tell you what, I really am out in Todgerland right now. I tell you what, I hope we don't meet like two stray tomcats in an alley. I'm on his patch. He's a Kawasaki rider. I'm a Honda rider. Could be trouble. Hello, Todge. I'm not going to lie, me old son, but this is the second outing you've inspired in me. So the first was the other week when we went to Egerton Hill. And then I saw your latest vid, and I thought, you know, I don't think I've ever been down through there. I'm going to go and have a look. And it's too wet to do what I want to do. There's some places I do want to go to, but not when the ground's this wet. So what brings me out other than the inspirational Todger? Well, I didn't get out last week. Which is why I put out the Exeter Rider video, which was originally shot all the way back in October. At the time I decided there wasn't really anything there to work with. Couldn't decide what I wanted to do with it. But as I say, last weekend I just couldn't get out. I wasn't very well Saturday and Sunday, so last Saturday's weather was absolutely atrocious. So I thought I'd better come out today while I can. Very charming down through here, isn't it? What's this spud doing? Very nice. Right, so we have a message in the chat group. Let's have a listen. Get off. Uh-oh. Roundabout. Wasn't expecting a roundabout. Yes, I was. What a numpty. Because I'm taking third exit. Well, while I'm here, I do want to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Mr. Guy, who decided to up sticks and move to another planet, which we know by the Isle of Sanday, up in the Orkneys. I mean, brave man, and his partner, Lizzie. Sold everything and up they went. And really, I ought to give a shout out to everyone on the Isle of Sanday for putting up with them. So now, wishing them all the best. I mean, they've been up there, I don't know. I hate to guess, 18 months, 2 years, I don't know. No, in my brain it was last week, but I see the sea. Now, if you can see past the sun, that's Portland over there. And if it's not, then I'm horribly lost. But anyway, getting back to what brought me out today. Nothing other than the fact that I had to get out. I had to do this. And I didn't start the bike. I mean, the bike hasn't been out since not last weekend, the weekend before. Well, it's not quite a giraffe, is it? So yeah, when I say I had to come out to do this, I mean, yes, I did. You know, if I want to put a video up every Friday, but that's a good thing. You know, I've discussed it before. It's a good thing because I don't know what it is about me. Hang on a minute, we'll come back to that. Now there is the white horse. It's not so white at the moment, but now I'd imagine that's probably 18th or 19th century, I guess. Unlike the Wiltshire horse, which I think is much older. There's Portland. Do you know, it was nice to stand up for a moment then, because I'm a bit warm. Anyway, as I was opining, I need stuff like this to get me to get out on the bike, because my brain has this fantastic ability to say, do you know what, no, I'll go out next weekend, or maybe I'll ride to work in the week. It'll make excuses for me not to do this, not to get out. And it takes an awful lot to try and overcome that. So this was another reason why I do this vlogging malarkey. It's not because I've got particularly anything to say or even anything worth listening to be honest, but it gets me out, it gets me on the bike, which is bizarre, isn't it? You know. Oh, why has the radio come on? Radio off. Radio off. Okay. Let's just turn that right down. Let's turn that right down and off. Bloody thing. I don't know why it does that. So yeah, I owe each and every one of you that deliberately or accidentally tunes in to watch a big thank you. Now looking at all those houses there has reminded me of something else that I was going to whinge about. I'll tell you what, Victor Meldrew may well be my spirit animal, but I can well believe it, because there are times I simply don't believe it. So let's go back to what year was it? It was that long ago. It was the middle of 2022. Let's negotiate this roundabout minute. It was the middle of 2022, and I was checking my credit file, and I saw on there an account. First of all, I saw a credit search by a well-known high street bank that begins with H and ends in X and has Alifa in the middle. And I thought, I haven't applied for a credit account with them. So I reported it through TransUnion and said, no, not me, nothing to do with me. A few weeks later I had a letter from the High Street Bank to say, oops, you've been a victim of fraud. You do not need to do anything. We know how distressing this is, but don't worry. We will remove this from your credit history, restore your credit file, report you as a victim of fraud to CFAS, blah 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 blah. And I thought, oh, okay, brilliant, okay, don't need to do anything. And then about a month later, I got a letter from a debt collecting agency asking for £517 in reference to this fraudulent account. So I contacted them and I said, this was fraudulent. I've had a letter from the bank to say it was fraudulent. So, no, it's not mine. To which they said, tough, basically. We want the money from you. We don't believe you. So this went backwards and forwards, and they said, okay, we'll conduct our own internal investigation. Well, that's like asking the fox to count the chickens, isn't it? And they came back with a letter to say, no, we don't believe you. This is yours. So I went back. They said, unless you could give us proof. Now, I believe I'd thrown the letter away, because why wouldn't you? They've acknowledged that it was fraudulent. They told you, you don't need to do anything. We've got you. We've got you covered. So the original letter probably got shredded after a clear out. So I went back, explained. And they said, oh, okay, all right, okay. So this went backwards and forwards between the bank and the debt collecting agency, because obviously the bank had sold the debt on, even though they'd written to me and said this was fraudulent. They then sold that debt onto a debt collecting agency. Anyway, they say, you go through, you bring up, it drives you bloody mad. You phone up and you get a different person every time. You have to go back over the same details over and over again. And because I didn't have the letter with the reference number on it with me, it made it all the more harder. Anyway, eventually you get told by one person, oh no, nothing we can do. You phone back and someone says, yep, right, we'll get that sorted straight away. And that's what happened. I spoke to this helpful woman and she said, right, well, this should never have happened. I can see what's happened. What we're going to do, we're going to buy the debt back from the debt collecting agency. We will write off the bad debt and we will restore your credit file. You don't need to do anything, but it can take up to 6 weeks. Brilliant. And so I left it. Lo and behold, 6 weeks later, or within that time, the 3 or 4 defaults that were registering on my credit file disappeared. Well, they didn't disappear, they'd been turned green, you know, to make it look as if you had not defaulted. Although the account was still showing, and I thought, we'll give them a bit longer, because, you know, these things take time, don't they? Anyway, the following month, I get a default listed again on the credit file. And then another one. So I go back to them and I phoned them probably another 2 or 3 times. Oh yeah, we'll sort it, we'll sort it. I said, right, get it sorted. I've been really patient. I don't want to have to go to the ombudsman. This is driving me mad. This has now been going on for over a year. Anyway, I go to apply for a mortgage. No problem. Go through the first rounds of, you know, you put in your details, or the mortgage advisor does, and they come back with all these companies. They then want a credit file check from you. So you use they recommend you use a company called checkmyfile.com, which will pull all the data from all the major credit reporting agencies. So of course, once that was submitted, very few people are interested all of a sudden, and the available interest rates have gone up. even though it's a matter of fraud. So I'll get hold of them again. Anyway, we go with a lender who's happy to listen to reasons why things are problematic. All right, you can talk to these people. So I get a new letter sent out, a copy of the original that says, yes, this was our fault, it was fraudulent, it should never have happened, we're going to sort it all out. Well, hunky-dory. Anyway, the mortgage lender undervalues the property I'm hoping to buy, which means to say we then have to potentially look at other lenders. But of course I can't look at other lenders because I've got this bad debt hanging over my head, which isn't mine, which they've agreed isn't mine, which they should have sorted out. Anyway, I have another right whinge at them, and they say, right, after about a 35-minute phone call, most of which was spent on hold while she was trying to talk to her managers to find out what had gone wrong, what they could do about it. Anyway, she comes back, she says, right, we're going to elevate this as a complaint. No shit. Anyway, I get a message from the complaints department to say, this is now with us, this is your reference number. If we need any more information, we'll contact you. That was that. So about a week later, I check my file. I do a checkmyfile.com, and it's all gone. There's no mention of the fraudulent account. It doesn't even exist. My credit has been restored back to where it should be, which was very, very good. So with joy, I sent the amended file through to my mortgage advisor, who in the meantime had applied for a mortgage with the same high street bank, anticipating them saying no, and then us being able to say, yes, but this is your problem and this is what you're supposed to be doing about it. Anyway, I then get notification in email to say a soft search has landed on my account. So I go into Credit Karma out of interest, and to my absolute horror, that fraudulent account has reappeared. As a default, it goes spike up for January, as in good, spike down, spike up for December, spike down for January, and I cannot effing believe it. So I phoned the complaints people that are supposed to be looking at it, explained how I am now really, really fed up with this. It's impacting me financially. It's going to cost me in excess of £500, plus the extra valuation fee I've had to pay, plus the extra fees I'm going to have to pay for changing to a different potential mortgage supplier. And she says, oh, well, yeah, there's nothing we can do. All I can do is tell you that it could take up to 8 weeks. So I am absolutely livid. And I can't go to the Ombudsman until they have finished their complaints procedure and given me a written verdict. It's only then I can go to the Ombudsman. But this is just farcical. I've had 2 letters and an email from them saying, you don't need to do anything, we're going to do all of it for you. And they've done nothing properly. They've just failed at every bloody turn. And the irony is that if I had thought, right, this is too much hassle, I'll just pay the bloody £517, which wasn't mine. I can't, because they've closed it their end. Anyway, that was a very long rant. This is the problem with identity fraud. And this is the problem with dealing with companies like this. It's like turning an oil tanker. You know, when I applied for finance on this, I had no idea that it was showing as defaults when I applied for the PCP on the car. I had no idea that it was going to be showing as a default and thus impacting my credit score. So I'm potentially paying more in interest than I need be. And now that I'm all the way back here, I'm not convinced I did go the same route that Todd's took. I think I've ended up maybe on the main road, which is a little bit north of the south. I don't know. I'll find out when I get home. Oh, and a message for Pete at Branson's, should you be watching. And to everybody else in the area, Branson's is a very good dealership. As I've mentioned a couple of times, I've bought a number of bikes from them over the years, and they've always been good. Always been good. But anyway, Pete, if you are me up with an Africa Twin DCT, just so I can try it. I'm just curious as to how it compares with the Transalp, for example, because the power figures are very similar, although obviously the Africa Twin's got oodles more torque, and being the lazy git that I am, I like the idea of an automatic transmission. So I would love to try one at some point. Until the next time, if you're really that bored.